and welcome to yet another episode of the Back to the TARDIS podcast, the podcast where we take a look at every single episode of the 2005 revival of BBC's Doctor Who. I'm Jeff.
I'm Skylar.
And I am a mystery. I don't know.
And this week we are discussing Series 7, Episode 2, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship by Chris Chibnall. It's a Chris Chibnall episode. It'd probably be on, like, the better side of, like, Chris Chibnall when you compare it to, like, where the show is currently at, but it's a Chris Chibnall episode. So my thoughts on it.
You know, I think some of the earlier Chibnall episodes, they feel more in tune with, like, RTD and stuff, or, like, whoever the showrunner is. I think this is the first Chibnall episode where thinking about it, I'm like, okay, this is very much a Chibnall episode.
Yeah,
I think I've discovered that Chibnall excels at making an episode of Doctor Who where you look at it and go, yeah, that is an episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, there's not very much to say about this episode specifically because it is such a Chibnall episode that, like, it was 45 minutes of television that I watched.
Yeah. I will say, though, the writing was nothing special. I think what in some ways separates this from some of, like, the more recent Chibnall output is I feel like the actors that they got in are really pulling their weight. Like, Rory's dad is wonderful. And I think regardless of what my, like, opinions on this episode are, I think Rory's dad is a great character. Even though I wish this arc was done last season and not here, but we've already discussed that. I think David Bradley as this, like, evil shitbag, like, black market person is good. Very well played. And I think the supporting cast, as forgettable as they are also kind of fun and funky. Even if, like, the episode opens and it's like, oh boy, yep, that we're at peak Moffat horny, everyone.
I think Chibnall did a better job of doing, well, I don't want to say better, but, like, less aggravating. He did the Moffatisms, but, like, less cringe than, like, last episode, for example.
Yeah.
I found them tolerable here, and it was weird seeing a Chibnall episode with not only, like, basically a full TARDIS team, the Pawns and Rory's dad, as well as, like, basically a trio of villains if you count the robots, plus additional side characters, and all of them are decently, like,
yeah, they're all right. I think they're a lot better than where we, like, ironically, for an episode that is 5 minutes longer than 5 minutes shorter than Chibnall episodes, I think it balances the characters that it has better than most Chibnall episodes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, which was so weird.
Yeah, I mean, there is some definite quality to this episode just in terms of, because you have about, like, 3 related but separate plots going on, and it actually, like, manages them decently well. Like, I don't think any of them really overpowered the other, and I feel all of them got as much time as they needed, which is not that much. But I think it came out okay. Like, I think the thing is, this is a very just meh episode that could have been a lot worse, and there is some recognition in it actually coming out meh instead of far worse, but it's still just kind of eh.
Yeah, and it's like, I kind of feel like, on the one hand, like, yeah, it's kind of meh, and I feel like it's kind of, like, it sucks that, like, when I think of this half of Series 7, this and A Town Called Mercy are really all that I can come up with for, like, highlights. And I guess maybe the first 40 minutes of Angels Take Manhattan. But also, like, I still think despite its amazing mediocrity that it is still in some. I don't know what it is. Maybe some of it is the acting, or like the little bit snappier of the dialogue, or just the faster pace of it, that still makes it feel like it's better than most Chibnall like episodes when he's showrunner. Like, is it just me, or does the 50-minute thing kind of make you feel like sometimes that it feels like it is staying like too slow paced and doesn't have like the snappiness that it needs, but it also doesn't take enough time to do like a full 2-parter thing. So it's like even more of the worst of both worlds.
I can see that. Yeah. And I also think I don't know if it's like damning with faint praise, but like Chibnall kind of does his best work when he's working in other people's sandbox, because Rory and Amy are already characterized, of course. I do give him credit, like minor credit, for Rydell and Nefertiti, although they're not obviously as dimensional as like the pawns, but like that just seems where he's most comfortable. Like 42 is decent in that manner.
Yeah.
The Silurian 2-parter in Series 5 is decent in that manner, and yeah, I don't know. And that's not a bad place to be. Like, if Chibnall just had spent the rest of his Doctor Who career being like a character / sci-fi concept writer that jumped in every few years to do like a fun, semi-meaningful romp, like, cool. He found his niche, but clearly we're in a much different reality than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so it's kind of just like, it just works. And I feel like if this had been a Series 6 mid-season filler episode and tied into more of the arc that I mentioned that was kind of like what I wanted from Amy and Rory in Series 6, I feel like this would have been like, oh yes, this is a great episode furthering the arc, because there's some good shit here of how like he just kind of swoops down and picks them up and doesn't even notice that he's like grabbed their parents, like Rory's dad too, because it's like, it's fine. It's not a problem. It's fine. Even though like it could very well not be. And I feel like it could tie in very well with the overall arc where we eventually get to, where at the end of Series 6, he's like, no, I'm going to get you killed. Get the fuck out. But instead it's placed here after that point, so it just kind of feels redundant.
Yeah, they do it's a mediocre job of addressing like, oh, it's been 10 months, this is our new arrangement, I can't stay anywhere because I'm always being like held back. She doesn't say this, but like I'm always being held back by the idea of you coming to visit, and it's like, it's good stuff, but it's kind of, there's too little of it. There's like maybe 2.5 scenes dedicated to it. So again, not Chibnall's fault. Like, he inserts that, and maybe that was like a Moffat request too. We have no fucking idea of telling, but it's just like, this could be so good. And the idea, I'll tell you what, if there was like a reoccurring thing of like the Doctor is trying to get other companions, he's going through like time and space, and we see more people like Nefertiti and Rydell, but like it's like an addiction or like a comfort that he like always goes back to the pawns. Like, that could at least be something, but that's clearly not the angle. Like, they pay lip service to it, and that's, again, it's very mid. And I'll give credit to Chibnall for at least not ignoring it completely for the sake of the own
there's
adventure.
More character there than any of his fucking companions have had.
Yeah, as I said, playing in other people's sandboxes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I rest my case.
I am once again thinking about how to fix the Amy and Rory arc
Yeah, I mean that's
Join the
been
club.
the consistent. That has been the consistent theme of the past like 2 fucking months of this show. Has been,
Yeah.
hey, there's some really good potential in this arc, and very little of it is realized.
I think one of the big things, okay, because we were talking before about how to fix it, and I'm realizing now that some of this like early season 7 stuff is good if it had happened in season 6.
Yeah, exactly. That was my thesis statement that I put out in the God Complex and The Girl Who Waited, is that this would have been amazing if you took out some of the episodes that didn't matter, or maybe even reworked the entire River Song arc entirely and just put this in instead. I feel like it is more compelling than the River Song Silence arc that we got. Because it feels much more personal.
What I was going to say specifically is I think they should have had Girl Who Waited like near the beginning of season 6, and then you have her get that moment of doubt, and then they shift to sort of the like part-time companion instead of full-time, and then you get episodes like this where he keeps accidentally dropping in, and you're getting, like, as you said, sort of the trial companions, and then God Complex at the end is the one that really like seals the deal. And then you have Clara at the beginning of this arc instead. And that would have been a way better setup than, like, it feels like the middle of the arc is after the end. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I feel like where it ends in The Angels Take Manhattan, even though it is a final ending, which is what I think Karen Gillan said she wanted, even though it is a ending with finality, the finality that it pulls out is contrived, and overall it is a less effectively written and satisfying ending than the one that was given to them at the end of series 6.
True.
So, oh well.
Yeah.
At least Brian's great.
Amen. For what it is, like, if I just take this, again, as, like, a sci-fi romp, it has, like, it kind of has a gimmick concept. You literally get the whole, it's dinosaurs on a spaceship roll credits thing. But, like, it's fun. The CGI is, like, okay, and they use practical shit when they need to.
Dude, when the fucking pterodactyls bear down on the fucking beach, I'm like, I see they've still saved that model from Torchwood.
True. But yeah, it's, you know what surprised me? It's like, for as much as there's like lib elements in this episode, the whole like pretty much condemnation of like reducing everything to like how you value something just by like what it's worth on a market and like what it can get you materially, like that's some good shit. I was genuinely like, it surprises me whenever Chibnall pulls out something like that. So that was like,
Chibnall also wrote Adrift, but look at where we are now.
Yeah, I have to wonder if that's like, again, it's just mindless speculation about like, you know, maybe the BBC is saying like, okay, you know, cool it with X or Y, because it's just like 42 kind of has an anti like consumerist / just like resource mining message. And then same with the Silurian 2-parter, so it's just like, what the fuck happened? Like,
like, are we gonna get like 5 years after Chibnall left the show, are we gonna get an interview where he's like, I mean, I think the Timeless Children was solely on him, but for shit like Kerblam or whatever, he's gonna be like, the fucking head honchos at the BBC were being fucking jackasses.
Well, to be fair, he didn't write that one, but it probably did have to go through him regardless.
It had to go through him. We know that this is how show running on that show works.
I am now very amused by this concept I've created that Doctor Who showrunners have an allotted amount of politics points, and he used up all of them having a woman. And so he's just not allowed to do anything anymore.
Interesting mental image.
That's why it takes so long between series, is he was trying to grind up more, but it was just never enough. The level curve is fucking atrocious.
It's like old FF14 1.0 leveling. Anyways, little bit annoyed at the ending where like Queen Nefertiti goes with like the shithead. Like okay, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean,
I like
do you
the
think that dude's? Do you think that dude's actually secretly into femdom? Is that? What do you guys think on this?
All reactionaries are, most definitely. But I like the development. I just think it's for the wrong reason, because she was just like, I owe you a debt. And then she's just like, well, I do it of my own free will. It's like, if there had been a bit more of the idea of, like, defending the defenseless, if there was some critique of monarchy, that it's just like, she's not just this powerful, like, Yas queen girl boss, but she's realizing...
also just, I mean, I guess they kind of do some stuff with, like, hey, this dude's a bigoted Victorian. Victorians were really shitty.
Yeah.
Or I guess
that's what I mean, that it's...
I don't know.
That's what I mean in that it's like... Yeah, that. It's like, it's weirdly left in some places, but lib in others, like...
Yeah.
The whole, like, just letting the monarchy thing go, or the guy who's like, there's a critique of, like, oh, you hunt defenseless animals and that makes you a man, but at the end he's doing the same shit anyways, just with, like, a stun gun instead. I don't fucking know. So it's like...
Yeah.
Again, Chibnall hitting the mark in some places, you know, certainly fucking better than he does in his own era, but still missing it in some. It felt like an idealized encapsulation of what would be to come. But again, for like a one-off episode, it's fine. I wouldn't quote-unquote cancel this episode. It's not a fucking Ansem Seeker of Darkness trash.
Oh yeah, we'll be getting there. We'll be getting there when we get to season 8. Like, I think the thing with, like, this is it's, like, no, it's not as good as some as what we'd, like, categorize RTD filler as, because, like, even RTD filler was actually pretty baller most of the time, but the show cannot keep that level of quality forever. And where, like, the level of quality that this was at it's fine. Mm-hmm. It works.
Yeah, much better use of characters, not just in characterization, but in terms of, like, plot relevance, which I forget when I think back of this episode, but, like, Rory's dad has a purpose with flying the ship. Queen Nefertiti arguably has the least purpose, but she still has one, and then Rydell, like, helps at the very end, so it's just, like, mechanically all the spots are there for, like, a tight story. It's just, like, the baggage, again, of the Moffat era, of the Smith Moffat era in specific, just kind of, like, takes away from it, as well as, I don't know, probably some of Chibnall's lib inclinations, again, if we're assuming that the BBC hasn't forced him into using a political allocation point system.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fine. It's mid-tier. Yeah.
I'm
God,
sorry,
I just want to go down this because I just had a really funny mental image, which is actually the reason why the show has been so lib is because if he uses up too many of the political points, then the BBC was going to make him do a favorable historical on Margaret Thatcher, and even he realizes, like, no, this is a bad idea, dude.
I started imagining the drill, please help my family is starving, candles $3,000 tweet. But when it's like politics point, women like 39,000 points.
Yeah. Yeah. God, I feel I'm really glad that we are escaping the 13 and Chibnall era without them trying to pull some, like, Margaret Thatcher was a girl boss unironically shit. Like, I'm really glad, because it felt like we were kind of going there.
So,
now,
do we want to talk
what?
about...
Actually, I recant that statement, because we still have a season and 3 specials.
Well,
there's still time for them to pull that shit out when I least expect it.
From the trailer footage, from the meager trailer footage we've seen, I don't know how the hell they'd fit that in, but who the fuck knows?
We haven't seen any of the specials. Maybe the special is just an hour and a half of like, maybe like the regeneration special is just an hour and a half of fucking Margaret Thatcher and 13 sweet talking each other.
No, what happens is that at the special, there'll be a moment like an End of Time where David Tennant is revisiting all his companions except for 13.
Margaret Thatcher.
For 13, it's just like Girl Boss Women, and it ends with J.K. Rowling. I shouldn't be allowed on the internet. I don't know if this is intentional or not. Getting back on task, even though this is a much more fun discussion. I don't mind the fact that the Doctor was just like, okay, you like genocided Silurians, and we're going to sell off these precious things. Here's some missiles. I'm not going to directly kill you, but I'm fine with, like, indirectly causing your demise. It felt very 13, but, like, in a way that I felt like...
hang on a second. I'm like, hang on, did he just kill this dude?
Yeah, except this time it felt like... I don't know if I'd use the term, like, justified, but I could see it in Eleven's character. Again, Chibnall better at playing in other people's sandboxes. Take a drink. But, yeah, it was just a moment where I was like, well, this isn't 13 selling out a POC master to the Nazis. That's like the S tier of what the fuck. This is like in the understandable category. It's like, okay, you're a capitalist... you're a mega intergalactic capitalist. Yeah, and you genocided someone. So, even though he frames it as piracy and not capitalism, like, fuck it, I'll take it at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We struggling to think of anything else.
Hello, guys. Just breaking on my Twitter timeline. BBC America has released a promotional summary of Doctor Who Series 13. You guys, you want me to read this on the air?
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
She's back. The 13th Doctor is returning for the 13th series in what is set to be a 6-part event serial. Since their last epic battle in Revolution of the Daleks, the Doctor and Yaz have been exploring the universe together, but with the Doctor now questioning everything about her past, she will undoubtedly be searching for answers. This adrenaline-fueled universe-spanning series will also see an addition to the TARDIS with actor and comedian John Bishop. Joining the cast is Dan Lewis, who will quickly learn there's more to the universe than he could ever believe. Jacob Anderson is also set to make his debut on Doctor Who as a reoccurring character Vinder. Jacob's new role will see him join forces with the Doctor, Yaz, and Dan as the Doctor faces her biggest ever adventure. Series 13 is set to introduce some terrifying new adversaries and the return of truly iconic old enemies. Expect action, fun scares, extraordinary new worlds as the Doctor and her friends convent a deadly evil. They're doubling down on it. They are doubling the fuck down.
On what? Having a 6-part special?
On Timeless Child.
Oh, right,
so,
yeah.
As weird as this may sound, first of all, I'd prefer that to dropping it off, because I honestly
I think it would be really funny if they just never talked about it again.
But here's the thing.
I think it would be hilarious.
It would. But I also, I kind of want to fucking see where this goes. And, I respect Chibnall enough to be like, okay, this might be my train wreck, even if he doesn't think of it that way. But, this is my train wreck. I'm seeing it into the station before I hand it off.
Yeah, true.
Because if he just left right now and the next guy decided to either continue it or drop it, then we'd never fucking know. But at least this way, it's just we get the whole vision. We get the entire prequel trilogy from George Lucas. We fucking know what's up. So, I don't know. I'm in for the ride, maybe with a bottle of wine each week, but I'm there.
Just a couple notes on the thing. So one, if I remember the trailer correctly, the Weeping Angels are coming back, right?
I think so, yes. And the Jadoo.
Yeah. So the Weeping Angels, and I find that very funny because I distinctly remember when we were talking about Blanket and joking about how awful a Chibnall Angels episode would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beyond that, I don't have that much to comment on it. Like, it's an interesting idea that they're doing something different. I obviously hope it's going to go well, but it might not. It probably won't.
Yeah. Oh, well.
And this has been your edition of Back to the TARDIS Weekly Doctor Who News, coming to you every 6 months when they decide to fucking tell us something.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Wait,
Wow, we've
wasn't
only
there something
got
about...
to 20. We've only got to 25 minutes, and I feel like we've barely actually talked about the episode.
Fuck it. We don't need to talk about the episode.
Yeah, fuck it.
We've already talked about the theme, and I'll praise the set design and how they integrated it with the CGI. Those are the two things. Other than that, it's mid.
Yeah.
Back to the Who News podcast.
What I was going to say is that when they're on the fucking beach with Brian, and like the pterodactyls come down, I'm like, ah, yes, I see you reuse that model from Torchwood.
Yeah. I will say that is a clever visual idea of like huge hydro engines that is basically, here's a fucking beach and a weather system, and that's our engine.
Yeah,
that feels very Silurian.
I don't think that works.
I like
also,
it.
Again,
I don't know.
What is it with Chibnall and Silurians? Because, like, there's one that just shows up here. There's one that just shows up here. There's one that just shows up in the fucking Nikola Tesla. Like, what?
Wait, when does a Silurian show up in the Tesla episode?
No, it's not a Silurian. It's like a Silurian gun shows up.
Oh.
Right, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
Man just loves his lizard ladies.
He's kinning, okay? Respect his kins. Thanks, Geoff. You're getting us canceled. Only took us till Series 7.
Nice.
So I just wanted... So if I remembering correctly, didn't Moffat accidentally spoil one of the reveals for the season about the Weeping Angels?
No, it was the way that they hadn't confirmed that Weeping Angels were going to be there, and he was like, "Thanks."
Yeah, it was on Instagram. I think it was like
it
was an Instagram post that he like later edited it, which I can only assume was like either the BBC or Chibnall being
like,
a wet
dude,
blanket.
What the fuck?
Well, and everyone was joking that it's like a perfect emblem of the difference between or between Chibnall and Moffat's showrunner style when it comes to like spoilers, where you have Moffat who would just like tell you everything for months in advance, and then Chibnall who wasn't saying anything, to the point where Moffat revealing...
Not entirely, because like Moffat did have his things that he would be very tight-lipped on and be like, please do not spoil this if it gets leaked. But I feel like he was a little bit more open than the show has been, yes.
Yeah, didn't that interview like recently get popular where he was saying like we as creators shouldn't be like on high from like a mountaintop declaring like the new shit and the new canon. We should be among the audience just telling stories and, you know, basically acting as like pseudo new age oral tradition where we're just passing on these cool ass sci-fi stories with good themes and shit. I'm paraphrasing like crazy, but like that really like struck a chord with me. We're way off topic now, but like even as flawed as his approach was, and even with like the minimal amount of storytelling here, it's just like, at least this is a fun episode. At least it generally makes sense. At least there's a theme. At least there's, like, characters to latch onto that, like, with collaboration from Moffat, Chibnall, like, probably, you know, it's a definable thing that I like.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Anything else?
How about, do we want to each, like, briefly say, like, one thing we liked and one thing we disliked, then do the ratings, and then fuck off?
Yeah, alright.
Okay. I'll go first, because I was thinking about this. I like that this story technically takes place in a future Earth. So that's cool, with, like, the Indian Space Agency or whatever. It's just, like...
Yeah.
It's just, like, a neat touch. It doesn't really, like, add anything to the story, but I was just like, hey, way to go. Like, some diversity that's just there. And, like, you did it, folks. And something I don't like, I don't know. Sometimes the pacing dragged, and I didn't really get the point of just having Amy with the two pseudo-companions. The dialogue was often very, like, lib feminism. It's like, I'm worth 2 men. Like, okay, settle down.
Yeah.
Like, Karen Gillan is worth 2 men, but, like, still. Yeah. That's my thing.
Yeah. I mean, I liked the overall pacing. I really like Rory's dad. I don't really like I feel like the resolution, as I mentioned, the resolution with Nefertiti getting with, like, the imperialist shithead guy was dumb. Like, dude. Bruh.
He's got a big gun, Jeff.
Oh, is it my turn?
Yeah.
It's an episode that was made by Chris Chibnall. It was an episode of Doctor Who, and it ran for 45 minutes.
What were your likes? Like 2 likes and 1 dislike before we go to ratings.
Oh, all right. Sorry, I missed that bit. I liked Rory's dad. I liked the trowel scene. I would say I generally like how the plot was balanced. I disliked the 2 non-Rory's dad / villain side characters, Nefertiti and British guy. They weren't good.
Yeah. All right, yeah. So I guess if I just move on to ratings here, it's an episode of Doctor Who. Cool. Neat CGI. B.
Yep. Basically that. Again, take another drink. Chibnall does his best when playing in other people's sandboxes. The chemistry and skill of the actors basically entirely carry this work, and some clever use of the set design, some good uses of CGI, etc., etc. It's an episode of Doctor Who that lets you know right off the bat that it's based off of a gimmick, and it delivers to that gimmick to the best of its ability, and it has, like, a pretty, shallow surface level theme, but it's a good theme. I don't know. I like it. So me. B.
Yeah.
I already accidentally gave my thoughts early. It's a 6 out of 10.
All right. Cool. Next time we'll be discussing A Town Called Mercy. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at B2TARDISPod. You can support us on Patreon for a number of benefits, such as early access to episodes, the ability to listen in live to episodes being recorded, and potentially even the ability to guest star on an episode of your choosing. I'm Jeff. You can follow me on Twitter at WheatleyDL.
I'm Skylar, and I'm looking for my Egyptian mommy dummy. So if you'd like to hit me up about that, follow me on SkyHigh 9_5 on the Twitter.com.
I'm Apollo, and I don't exist.
Based.
And we will see you all next week.